to launch today.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect with you on LinkedIn, and because there's been a couple of folks that's in the cohort that we've been liking and sharing each other's content. And so I love to do that for you as well.
Okay, great. Likewise.
Yeah, it's a really good idea to keep building your network and that support system for each other. Even if it's just liking the post, that little bit can always help, get it seen and in other feeds. So that's great. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so Diane, have you had a chance to look over the workbook that we are talking about for today for the lesson, the content?
Yes, very much so.
You have. Okay, so I was just telling Dr. Jones, I've been having a cough I've been dealing with and a cold over the last 5 days or so. This is why I sound like this. I'm really, really sorry. So I don't want to drum on. If you guys just want to kind of cherry pick what you're after and what we want to talk about today regarding this lesson content. I was just starting to go over some highlight points that Dr. Jones and I were looking at before you jumped on. So I'm going to kind of let you guys lead in that way of what you need most right now to help, that would help you get to that next step or move the needle forward for you.
You can go ahead and take it away. I have a few questions, but I'll wait because you were here first. So
well, to be honest with you, so I will say this. So I've launched already this week, and what I'm planning to do the rest of the week is focus on creating an event, a live event on Friday of this week. I've done a couple of posts already, and my posts have been around providing value up front, but then on the back end, still somewhat nudging people to join me in supporting this pre-sale campaign. So I think I'm good based on what I need today, and I'm just going to sit and listen to see what else I can glean.
Awesome. Get some of those light bulb moments, like what I like to call them.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Amazing.
I had a question because I prepared, the text on the sales page based on the templates and the samples. And then yesterday, my sister has worked in marketing, forever. And I had asked her, hey, take a look at this, but she didn't do it till last night. And then when she finally does, she comes back with all these suggestions, which some I'm like, okay, no, it's fine. But then others I'm thinking, well, maybe I should change this. She was telling me how, for example, when I talk about my publishing journey, I talk about, my publisher has given me a team. I talk about the editor or the marketing coordinator. She told me to remove that. She's like, people don't need to know who's in your team. Just get to the point and talk about, your tickets and what you're offering. So now I'm like, should I or shouldn't I? Right. She's looking at this more, obviously she's looking at it more from a corporate perspective. And she's like, oh, people don't need to know what the behind the scenes of your process or, just wanting to look more professional, I guess. But I don't know what you all think just from experience, and you've probably been through many of these book launches before. What you suggest there?
Well, yeah, I'll open it up to the other authors in our group here, what your thoughts are. I'm always going to defer to your marketing specialist, your marketing coordinator. Personally, I believe knowing someone's journey really builds that connection with that person, and that's part of the purpose of why they incorporate that into your landing page for your pre-sale page, is because people want to know that depth. They don't want to just be sold to, and that helps build that camaraderie or whatever you want to call it, that connection, that feeling of oh, I want to join her journey and support her. More than just oh, I want to buy that book. That's not commonly new marketing, modern marketing, I guess you might want to call it, is all about creating those connections, and people want to know your backstory and your process and your journey. And that's really part of selling those pre-sales is to get them into your sphere, into your universe. Now, if you were an author and you already had a book and, those kind of things, and you were already known, that'd be a different story. We already know, for instance, Stephen King, right? If he writes a book and you're a Stephen King fan, you're going to probably buy that book, right? That's not the level that you're at right now. So we have to take it to a place where you're building your brand, you're building your identity, you're building your author identity. And that's part of that journey that people want to join you on, especially authors that are aspiring authors that are steps behind you, and they like and see what you're doing. They want to know like how you got there, right? They want to know the backstory. So that's my take on it and my spin of utilizing that information for marketing. Like you said, she's been in marketing for a long time, but there's all different levels and kinds of marketing. Like you said, there's corporate marketing, and then there's personal branding, self-identity marketing. So those are two different worlds.
Okay.
Yeah.
makes
Yeah. And I would add, for me, it's really just being a little vulnerable enough to let folks know that I'm not doing this journey on my own, right? I have a team of support that's helping me in everything that I'm pushing out. I'm continuing trying to make sure that I am connecting from a standpoint that I can show my vulnerability, number one, but also to encourage folks that the same journey they're on, I'm on as well. And so I think for me, that's the best way that I've been out there connecting.
Yeah, I like that approach.
Absolutely. Because once you take that away, you're just like anybody else, like if I'm trying to join a community or join somebody's universe or join somebody's world, I want to know more about them, and the best way to do that is to share that with them instead of them bouncing out and saying, oh, I'm not really that interested in that book or whatever. They want to not only be interested in your book, but they want to be interested in you as a person. What you're selling really is yourself. And so without that journey part and piece of it, what do you have then, right? It's just the book at that point.
It's just selling a book, like any other book.
And nobody likes to be sold to. So
Okay. I like that.
Yeah. I saw one other person join us, but I don't see the name.
That's Lynn.
Lynn,
me.
are you with us?
I'm here. Can
All
you
right.
see me or not see me?
Thanks for joining. Oh, I just have my share screen up, so I don't have it.
Oh, it's okay.
So how are things going with you based on your status and what you're doing this week? Have you launched your pre-sale yet?
I'm launching tomorrow. I decided to hold back because I know that everybody was coming back to work on Monday, and I was worried about getting their attention.
Mhm.
So I have held sort of the campaign back until tomorrow, and
Okay.
have just been warming up the crowd in the meantime. So that's been my approach. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow, but I'm all ready to roll.
All
Um,
right.
yeah, just kind of getting out there and priming my people to show up.
All right. Awesome. So what kind of content have you been sharing with them or posting to them?
Well, I mean, I guess today is a little bit of sort of just setting the context of the backstory behind the book. What's the inspiration behind the title? Why am I writing it? Who's it for? What are you going to get from it? I've got a lot of sort of different posts I've been working for weeks now, just sort of everything from stories and excerpts to the book to pictures of where I work to the music I listen to while I write, all kinds of different bits and pieces to just sort of let people a little bit more into, as you said, our world. Who are we and what are we about? I work as a coach professionally these days. So
Mhm.
one of the biggest lessons I had to learn was that people don't buy coaching, they buy coaches. And
Right.
they buy people that they aspire to be, that they see themselves or something they would like to be in you. And so my approach has been very much more about like, who am I? What am I about? Why did I get here? Why am I doing this? And that's the story I'll keep telling.
Amazing. That's excellent. Yeah, spot on. It's just sharing all about you to gain that support and following. I'll say it again. People want to be around people that they aspire to be like, or they want to be in their universe, in their sphere. And
Yeah.
that's the way to do it. Obviously, you still are sharing content from your book, excerpts or bits and pieces, some quotes and things like that too. But really, it's about the journey. They're gonna learn about the book in the process, but they wanna connect with people, right? So that's great. That's a good strategy, and exactly what we're talking about today, right? I didn't catch, Diane. Did you say you have a date of when you're wanting to launch your resale?
Yes, I'm trying to launch today.
Today. Okay, awesome. So you're still putting those fine finishing touches on with your marketer before it
Yes.
goes live? Okay, great. Excellent. All right. And tell me a little bit about your plan. Is it something you got laid out day by day, what you're going to post each day, what content you're going to share? Where are you
Sort
at?
of. Yes, I'm trying to get to that point. I have someone that works with me in my marketing and content. So we've laid out an email, kind of emails that are going to be going out at least twice a week. And then I also have I want to be posting every day. We already have some for this first week, focus more on the book, what it's about. Then toward the next 2 weeks, we'll hopefully be talking a bit more about, the different tiers in terms of what are the perks, what do you get? And then I interviewed a lot of people for my book. It's about the importance of emotional intelligence at work. So it's called the EQ Playbook. I want it to be something, very practical and, a guide for leaders.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping to include some of the quotes from many of the people that I interviewed and have that be content. So, having their face, and then that way they can also share it, and hopefully get more engagement in that way. One of the things that I was kind of looking for, and I thought I had seen it somewhere, but it's not here in this workbook, is I don't know if there were like sample email templates, that we can be sending like throughout this process in the coming weeks. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And then throughout this week, when you launch tomorrow, do you have bits and pieces built in there that you're going to be sharing about your journey and about yourself and your kind of experience with all this that you sprinkling in as well?
No. So this is good in reminding me that I have to include that. Right now, I've been focused more on the book and what the book is about, but I do have to make it more personal and include more of myself in there.
Yeah, I absolutely challenge you to do that. So, what's that?
I was going to make a reel, just talking about the book launch, inserting myself into the webpage. But anyway, so now I'm thinking I need to talk more about myself too, and my story, my experience. So
absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely challenge you to do that. That's, again, a big piece of this, and drawing people into your world. So try to build those in, and don't be afraid to post more than one per day. I know people kind of get on that track of, oh, well, if I at least post once per day, that's great. But if you can post up to two, 3 times a day for this building that momentum of this launch this week, that's beneficial too, because if you're talking about multiple things, you're more likely to come up in someone's feed, and then they're more likely to go to your page and check it out, see more about what's going on with your pre-sale page and that kind of stuff. Than just one time. I mean, that may get lost in the world of social media. Like, let's say on LinkedIn, for example, if you have 3 posts spread out across the day, I'm more likely to see something from you than if you just have one. You know what I mean? Yeah. So even if it's something small like a quote, and then you say, hey, this is what's going on in my part of my journey of putting out this book, blah, 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 blah. Here's a quote from the book. So, please go check out my pre-sale page, or support me and check out my pre-sale page. Using those kind of that kind of verbiage too is really important. Is like, instead of saying, go check this out, which we always have a tendency to do, is to direct somebody, ask them for support instead. Say, I really love your support, to look at my, pre-sale page and give me feedback. Tell me what you think. People always want to give their opinion too. So just asking for something from them, you know what I mean?
I like
is good call to action activities that you can build into your content, as well as your kind of like marketing funnel to send somebody somewhere. That's important. That you just, I call it falling off a cliff. You don't want to have your post have somebody fall off a cliff. You always want to give them something to go do next, or ask them for some type of support to go do something next. Go look at my pre-sale page, support me on this journey, something like that, right? So just thinking about those types of calls to actions versus buy now, or learn more, or something like that. And those are fine for certain stages of your marketing funnel and how to get people funneled into buying something from you. But asking them for support is significantly a huge difference than just say learn more, right? That's still better than nothing, having them fall off a cliff, but we want to take it to the next step. You know, we're soon to be authors, we're professionals. You want to have that show up in your social media as well. Like, I know what I'm doing with this, right? I've got a lot of support behind me. Please support me in my journey, whatever. Does that make sense? And kind of the differences between those types of calls to action. Excuse me. All right. Before we move on here, do you have anything else that you'd want to add, Lynn, that that you're doing in your pre-sale launch?
No, no, I think you guys have got it all covered. You
Okay,
know, just
awesome. Well, let's
yeah.
dive into a couple more things then that that we haven't talked about yet. One is going to be tracking these engagements and tracking the people that you're outreaching to. Dr. Jones and I talked a little bit about this already, is that he's got a really good setup for his outreach. And I don't know if you mentioned you had an official tracking system for that, Dr. Jones, but that's one thing that maybe your marketer should have given you by now. If they haven't, please ask them for it, so you can have a spreadsheet on and keep that follow-up going.
I do. As a matter of fact, that's what I was
Okay,
doing
good.
before I got on this call, is just working through my spreadsheet in terms of capturing the likes, the loves, and the shares on my social media. And then, of
Amazing.
course, those who have signed up to learn more about the book. So I'm kind of keeping those separate, but we're kind of keeping the messaging all the same.
Okay, all right, perfect. Yeah, because sometimes people will just like your post, right? They may like 10 posts and never engage with you until you reach out to them. That's what it's all about. Like, if somebody likes it, they're liking it for a reason. Maybe it's somebody you know and they're just supporting you and wanting to keep that, you know, going in people's feeds and stuff like that. That's great. Those are really great people. You can just message them and say, thank you so much for your support. If you know anybody that would be interested in the book or whatever, here's my pre-sale page, my campaign that I'm running. Those are really great. You get their name for a reason, right? You want to reach out to them in some way, even if it's something small. And then that starts to build that connection too. And keeping track of those are really important, because then you can go back and say, hey, did you have anybody, you know, like maybe next week you go, hey, did you have anybody that you thought that would be interested in, you know, getting on my pre-sale, or would you be interested in sharing my post and maybe offering them some type of, you know, incentive or something like that, right? Those are always good too. Getting people to share your post is immensely helpful to get into other people's feeds and other people's networks, especially on LinkedIn, because once they share it, it creates this explosion of it gets seen in front of a lot more people once somebody shares your post. Liking it is great. Maybe once they like it, you go into their DM and thank them for your support and all these things, and then you say, hey, if you like that post, or you know anybody that would be interested in this type of book, would you mind sharing my post across and sharing it with your network? And then you can tag me and whatever, right? Those create all those interlinking spider web of like more people that are going to see your content and maybe get into your own sphere. Have you guys tried that at all before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So nothing new then, what I'm saying. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so let's get into this then and just go over again, see if we can find some more light bulb moments that pop up. So we talked about, you know, teasing your content and getting the information out, different things that you can incorporate about you, not only the book, but yourself, and different expert excerpts and quotes and things like that, all those types of things, right? Creating the content before you're actually going to post it. That's always a good idea if you can set it and forget it. And then all you have to do back at that point is then go in and engage. Another thing with social media that you probably talked about in your social media class, if I recall, is about don't necessarily post it and completely forget it. You can schedule it in advance, but always think about a time that you're going to be able to be on there and engaging as well. Give yourself 15, 20 minutes on the front and back end of the post to engage with other people that are in your network, as well as being able to engage with them immediately after you post, because there's always going to be those quick people that go up into your feed right away. They're already they see it immediately. you don't want to lose that potential for that momentum of people that are seeing it right when you post it, right? People that see it, 20, 30 minutes later, however long, that's great too. But getting them when they're hot, basically, like they're scrolling, they're looking at content, and engaging with them right away. Those are those really nice irons that you can keep in the fire and keep those going, right? So just think about that. If you do post, or if you do schedule your post, just kind of try to do it around a time that you think that you can also be online to engage. Or if you have a certain time of day that if you're posting like 3 times a day, pick one of those times that you're going to definitely be engaging back right away. Okay, and so setting that up on your plan is really important, especially if you're doing more than 1 post a day. Okay, so week 1, which is what we're in right now, everything's fun and exciting and shiny and new, and we can feel that momentum that we're building and that we're going to be putting out into the world just by your plan of attack of how you're going to do your posts, like we've been talking about, and really breaking down your first couple days of your campaign. So that's why I asked what days you guys are all on. So if you've got some upcoming, you can start thinking about, okay, my day 1 for when I launch. Somebody said tomorrow is their day. Diane, you said tomorrow is your day. So thinking about, okay, what all I'm going to do day 1, right? Ensuring that you've got your obviously your page up and ready to roll. It looks exactly how you want it. Reaching out to as many people that you have on a list. Like you said, you're going to do some email marketing. There is some information in the email marketing class that has been several weeks past that I can refer you to about some different samples of what you can put in your verbiage for your email marketing for the copy.
Yes.
So yeah, I can direct you to that. I can't remember exactly what class it is right now, but I'll definitely get back to you on that before we hang up today. But yeah, the email marketing class has or the email marketing workbook has a lot of information and sample emails that you can send out. And then you would just have to tweak it, obviously, to make it fit today or this week. But yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Jones. It was nice chatting with you. Have a good rest of your day.
All right.
See you soon. See you
All right,
soon.
see you soon.
Bye-bye. Excuse me. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so sharing on all your social media networks, we talked about that. Outlining the strategy here is what they've got kind of laid out is, let's say you've got your outreach, any in-person outreach that you can do. That's often overlooked because we're so geared towards the digital platforms these days. Is that anything that you guys have built into your strategy for this week of meeting anybody in person to talk about your launch?
Sadly, no. I live in the middle of nowhere where I can't meet anybody. So
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I'm going to rely mostly on, other than social media and like the email list, I'm then going to send personal emails and text, WhatsApp a bunch of people and also some groups, to promote it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, just keep that in mind if there are any clubs or groups that you're in, or even if it's like a book club. I know a lot of authors that are in book clubs that they, want their book club people to buy their book, obviously. That would be something that you could look into too, and any other sports or activities that you might do as well. So that's just another step that you can take to get gather any in-person support. All right, so this talks a little bit more about in-person stuff. Then we go to outreach number 2, text message and email, which is what you were talking about, Diane. So emailing personalized messages. I don't know if I was talking about this before you guys jumped on with Dr. Jones about emails that are personalized. So you want the email to be something that you're talking directly to one person, but that person has to feel like it's not a canned email, right? Because nobody really likes a canned email. Even though they know that the same message is going out to hundreds of other people or, dozens of other people, however many, you want to personalize it. So even if there's something small that is like, okay, maybe that doesn't exactly apply to my entire, target audience or target reader, they're still going to be able to relate, right? So that's a huge difference in sending just canned email. Nobody likes that feeling. So just making sure that whatever you are sending does feel very personalized and customized to your target reader. Does that make sense? Is that clear on that? What the difference is? Okay, great. All right, so we got emails, we got obviously social media is a huge piece of this, which we just talked about a lot. So I'm not gonna reiterate that much more unless you guys have questions. But again, sending everything that's personalized as much as you can this week for the outreach is really important. So copying, pasting messages is not going to be your friend this week. You want to really dive into personal relationships in asking for their support, whatever avenue you decide to go, or mix it up between some email, some social media. Copy and paste, try to minimize that, right? Okay, so crafting the post, this just talks about some things that are like best practices. Obviously, adding some hashtags. If you have some branded hashtags, using, in addition to any branded hashtags you have, your book title is a good branded hashtag. Your author name, modern author, and writer's life are really a really good ones to use as well, that are going to reach a lot of people. Now on LinkedIn, you don't want to do more than like 2 or 3 hashtags, so just keep that in mind. But you do want to have a blend of those hashtags. So you want like one branded, and then maybe these 2 or something similar, right? Modern author, and then your book title or something like that. And you want to mix it up. You don't want it the same every post. Again, it starts to fall on, deaf ears, blind eyes, because once you see it, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. You want to keep it mixed up. So instead of your book title, you might do your author name on one post and then your book title on the other, that type of thing. And then on Instagram and Facebook, Facebook is about the same as LinkedIn, 2 or 3 hashtags max. But on Instagram, you can do much more hashtags. So you can do, I would say about 10 to 15 is ideal on an Instagram post. So you can add even more general types of hashtags, like aspiring author, modern author, and obviously on this one, like this one, but more hashtags to meet all the different levels of, low to high. Are you guys using hashtags on your posts already? Do you have a hashtag bank that you're dipping into?
Not enough. Need to use more.
Okay. What about you, Diane?
Yeah, I mean, I use a few in what I do regularly, leadership or emotional intelligence, that kind of thing. But I am going to start using, hashtag EQ playbook for the book, because I've also noticed that there isn't much use of it. So it could be my own, personal hashtag. Yeah, I wouldn't be competing with other campaigns or other items with the same name. So I'm excited to see that one and see what happens.
Yeah, awesome. I definitely recommend creating a hashtag bank, so you don't have to start from scratch every time you go to write a new post. You can just dip into that hashtag bank and see which ones are most relevant to use. Like I said, trying to fit those 3 categories every time. Actually 3 or 4 categories. So one is your branded one. So that could be your name, your book title, anything that's like a branded, specifically about you. And then you've got like your relevant hashtags. So say, for instance, Dr. Jones was going to do a post on Friday about official Quitters Day or something like that, because his book talked about like momentum and things like that. So you, like a relevant hashtag for that day would be hashtag National Quitters Day 2025, right? So you want to spread it out between the different categories of hashtags. And I always recommend having a bank of like 30 for each of the 4 categories. Again, so you can tap into those each time. And obviously the relevant ones are going to be different each time, depending on what you're posting about and what day or week or whatever that you're referring to. Yeah, so creating your hashtag bank, really important. And then let's see, this also talks about like some behind the scenes type of stuff. So this dives in even more to what you were talking about, Diane, is just people are very reluctant to talk about themselves. I know it can feel really hard at first, but once you get over that little hump of feeling like, oh, well, nobody cares about what's going on in my life, that's not true. It's absolutely not true. It's just a lie we tell ourselves because it's something we don't feel comfortable necessarily doing on a regular basis, because we just don't. We're just human. Most people don't. There's those small percentage of people who are like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, I can do that. But it's something we have to talk ourselves into typically. And once you get over that little hump, you just start to see content in everything you're doing. So taking those behind the scenes is what I call it, in content, and utilizing it in your favor, especially this week, is really important too. Just share your journey, get support from your network. Say, hey, this is what I've been working so hard on these last several, months plus. Here's a little bit about what's going on this week with me, and this is my pre-sale week. I'd love your support. This is me and my work setup, or whatever you want to share, right? And in the grind of getting everything ready, people want to know that too. All right, so we talked about a little bit of best practices on post structure. So that has a lot to do with that call to action, hashtag. That's what that's talking about there. Engaging with your community. We talked about that in scheduling your posts. You can do that and schedule them ahead of time, just making sure that you are not having them fall off the cliff, and also not leaving them hanging, right? So engaging with your community, not only through DMs, but in the comments and things like that. And also reaching out to those people and sharing and liking their posts as well, right? It's like a quid pro quo type of thing. Like, I'm going to share this post, but I really like this about your post. Would love if you shared mine. All right, so let's talking more about hashtags and commenting on other people's content. And then day 2, which some of the stuff we've gone over as well, but asking for support, thanking them for their engagement, having content that resonates also visually with your community. So not only posting a quote, but maybe a posted quote that is a graphic, right? That's the content in the, like say a LinkedIn post. I always go to LinkedIn because LinkedIn is like the most professional platform of them all, right? But you can be doing the same things over your other social media channels, of course. But with LinkedIn, you can still post like a graphic with a quote, and then have the quote in the content as well, and talking about what the quote is all about and that kind of stuff. So you want to have those multiple levels of way you're reaching people, visually and with copy, right, with the words. Dr. Jones also mentioned that he was going to do a live, so having some video content is also a really good addition to social media that you're going to be using to keep the momentum up and boosting that content this week, is having some video content. And it doesn't have to be anything professionally done or edited or anything. People love that behind the scenes stuff, like I mentioned, but also they love that off the cuffs type of thing. So if you say, hey, I'm going to go live in an hour, do a quick Q&A session about what my book's all about, and maybe you get 1 or 2 people, guess what? That's 1 or 2 people that maybe you didn't have before, right? And you can talk about your book, and then they'll share the word, share your post, sign up for your pre-sale. That's what we're really after, obviously, this week, is getting those pre-sales. So that's one way of doing that as well. Any video content that you guys have considered doing this week besides just social posting or emails?
I'm going to launch my campaign with the video itself for the campaign
Amazing.
that we did. So that was sort of what my marketer and I have been talking about, is like use that as the launch post, because
I love that.
there's, keep it light on text and then put the video up there.
Yeah, I love that. That's
The
a
story's
great
there.
way. Yeah, that's a great way to be like, here I am. Here's my video about everything that I've been doing in my book and everything. And then,
Yeah.
then I'm sure what you guys have done, I imagine this is a typical strategy, is break all the small stuff down. And then you've got posts for the rest of the week or two to keep getting people going, right? Because it's a 30-day pre-sale, right? So you've got your content planned out for the 30 days. Excellent. That's a really good way to do that. It's called content repurposing, which I'm sure your marketer has gone over with you. So you've got this big piece of content, and then you can break that content down into like 30 pieces or more that you can then build off of and keep using that as your content pillar, right? A pillar piece that you've got. So amazing. That sounds great. What about you, Diane? What are you breaking into the scene with?
Yeah, I did not have any video planned. I was thinking of making a reel, like I mentioned, where I'll have the sales page in the background, and then my head popping up and saying, "Oh, look here, you can do this, and here you can click," and kind of like walking through it.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of doing something, more maybe like a live, something that doesn't have to be so formal, but just to get my voice, my face out there, and for people to connect a bit more. So
Absolutely. And this is an exciting time. So you want to get people excited with you, and just
exactly.
kind of that over the top of, it's like, I'm bursting at the seams with this excitement of getting my book out into the world. Like, please come join me. I'd love to answer any questions that you might have. I'm going to do just a quick Q&A. You can be 20, 30 minutes max. Like, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. Again, just to keep collecting more support. So highly recommend those off the cuff videos, or if you have anything that's even just, maybe it's recorded, but it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be edited to perfection and having a perfect intro and outro and all those things. People don't care. They really don't care. As long as they can join your world, if that's what they're interested in and want to be a part of it, then they're going to watch it and probably appreciate the video much more if it's not perfect than the other alternates. So okay, so
Can you leave
then
them?
what's that?
Sorry, my wife just came in the room and
No worries.
didn't realize I was off mute.
No worries. I thought you were talking to me. No big deal. Okay, so day 3, again, just continuing to build that momentum. So day 3 for most of us is going to be, let's see, so what's today? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Thursday or Friday, right? So want to get people before the weekend, obviously, and then that way, if they are on at all during the weekend, you can still follow up with DMs and any personal direct messages over email or social media. Then after that, they say rest, because it is a lot. If you do it with that strategy in mind of go these next 3 to 4 days, then you're gonna be like, okay, but come Saturday, Sunday, you're gonna be like, okay, I got to take a little breather, right? Maybe you have a scheduled post that goes out, and maybe that's one that you're not really concerned about engagement with, right? Maybe you set that one to go out on Saturday or Sunday, and then you just let it go. That's totally fine. As long as that's part of your strategy, that's great. That's obviously going to be a small percentage of your strategy, just still getting content out, something easy that you don't really have to engage with much. You might follow up with it later on Monday and say, oh, somebody liked that post. Great. They were on Sunday. But you're going to take a day of rest, right? You're going to take some time to be like, okay, let me get a breather, regroup. All right, now what's the next push for my next, couple days for next week, right? What am I going to work on? What am I going to be putting out, and all that fun stuff. We talked about the tool to use for tracking your engagement. This is really important. You should get this from your marketer if you haven't got it already. Do you guys have your engagement tracker that you've been working on already?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. So I think this is in an Airtable, so it's pretty easy to use and add information as you go along, for follow-up and everything. Even if it's small, I highly recommend tracking it. Like I was mentioning, if it's just a like, don't let that be just a like. Is kind of what I like to say is, like, people are liking it for a reason, whether that be your mom or your dad or your best friend. That's fine. But if it's somebody that you haven't seen their name before and they like it, that's a golden nugget right there. You follow that trail, even, message them. If it's on LinkedIn, message them and ask them to share your post, that kind of thing, right? Don't let a like go to waste. All right. Then obviously asking for the pre-sale. This just talks a little bit more if they say yes, if they say maybe, if they say no, things you can do to follow up. Again, it's just keeping on that follow-up train, basically. A no in this circumstance is not always a no. It's sometimes a maybe. So keep that in mind too. It's just those soft ways to follow up with people that they don't feel like you're bothering them or nagging them. You're just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Come along with me, right? Keep joining in my journey. All right. And if they don't answer, just some other follow-ups that you can do. Give them a little bit more time in between if they don't answer and they say no. Letting that set in of who you are and what you're doing. And then this is a little activity that you can do on your own. It's basically just saying, kind of setting out some goals for your campaign, how many people you're going to contact this week, next week, et cetera, and what the posts are going to be, how many on each platform. And that's really it for our lesson today. We've got a couple more minutes left. Is there any other questions or anything that you guys want to bounce around each other about what you're working on this week and what we think could have the most impact?
I'm okay personally. I mean, I think it's just a matter of getting in there and actually putting this into practice. It's like every product launch, there's going to be things that surprise you that you didn't think through. And I've launched a lot of products in my life, so I'm just kind of like, let's go out and have a plan and then prepare to adapt with the plan as it goes in real time.
Absolutely. Have that plan and execute. And then whatever you don't get to do this week, see how you can fit it in next week, right? Maybe you're not jumping on doing a video this week. Maybe Diane, maybe you plan that for next week. That's okay. But make sure you add it into your plan, right? And have that mix of ways that people can contact you and you can reach them. So it doesn't have to all be today or tomorrow, right? Whatever your launch date is. But as long as you've got your strategy that you're working on with your marketer and you're executing on that strategy, that's what's important. Keeping that momentum going and keeping people excited about your journey and what your book is going to offer and the impact that it can have on the people that join your pre-sale and help support your campaign, right?
Yeah.
So
I just had the question about the email marketing workbook.
yes.
Somewhere I can find it. I can.
Yes. Let me look really quick. I believe it's in workbook 1. Let me just get the right one for you. Excuse me. So it is in workbook 1 under the 3-part invite.
Oh, okay.
So it's sprint 1, class 4 in the modern workbook number 1. Do you know where to find that in the course?
Yep. I'm going in now to the workbook 1 is a modern author fan theory, right?
Yes, and then it's in the class 4, which is entitled 3-part, but it's really talking about email marketing in that lesson for the most part. So educated sell, email. Oh, it does say email strategy for modern authors. Yeah, so it's in that one, and it's got a good list of various templates that you can use and kind of as starting points. You don't have to start from a blank screen that you can message people with and kind of talk about yourself in the book and all the things and how to do that. And of course, you're going to cater it to your own personal messaging.
Exactly. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It was so nice to meet both of you. Have a good rest of have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Likewise. All
Good
right.
luck,
Bye, guys.
Diana. Good luck,
Bye.
Diane. Take care.
Likewise. Bye.
Thanks.